Good morning, Four Oaks Church. We're in busy downtown London, right in front of Westminster Abbey, which I'll say more about here in just a moment. But we are spending these couple days here before we return to C.S. Lewis to talk about other important historical figures and events in the life of the Church of Jesus Christ. Like I said, in the back, Westminster Abbey, very famous. It's where all the kings and queens of England are coronated. Inside are buried many luminaries, famous figures, all the way from Isaac Newton to famous religious folks, kings, Edward the Confessor. All of this happens back here in the Abbey, and it, of course, is a living, functioning church. But there is something that happened here, not in the main hall that you can see, but right kind of over my shoulder. That would be what we would call the Jerusalem room, that little room right on the side there, where something incredibly monumental happened in the year 1643. So let me just kind of give you just a little brief history. The Church of England had broken off from the Roman Catholic Church and had become the Anglican Church. And this all happened at the behest of King Henry, of course. And when Queen Mary came to the throne, she wanted to reinstitute Roman Catholicism, and hence her name Bloody Mary, because many died at the stake or were beheaded at her behest. But after her, Elizabeth took the throne, and they went the country went back to Anglicanism. However, there was a group within the Anglican Church called the Nonconformists. You might know them as the Puritans, okay? Puritans get a bad rap. Puritans really were those folks who wanted to purify the Church of England, to be more faithful in their conduct and doctrinal standards. We have lots of action going on here today, people. It's very, very exciting. So they gathered this group of clergymen in this room right behind me to convene what is now famously known as the Westminster Assembly. And it was at this assembly, over the span of some months and even years, as they were meeting on and off, that they crafted a confession called the Westminster Confession of Faith. And many believe, and I'm among those, that this is one of the greatest Protestant confessions ever put together. And of course, this confession went on to become the official doctrinal standards of the Presbyterian Church and many others, because what happened with this confession, the Puritans wanted it to be the confession of the Church of England, but they were kicked out, and they migrated to Scotland and other places, and even America, to practice their religion freely. Now, what does the Westminster Confession have to do with you? What does it have to do with me? What does it have to do with Four Oaks? Well, most don't know it, but most of our doctrinal standards in the Protestant world can be traced back right to this confession. And we sometimes think about confessions. Let's be honest. We just spent a summer going through the Four Oaks Statement of Faith, and we typically think about these things as sort of sterile, academic, theological terms. But let's remember that every statement of faith, every confession, every creed in the history of the church was formed in the cauldron of conflict. There was some theological issue or some challenge being presented to the church that required a response, that required the church to better articulate its doctrine and understanding of scriptures. And so for these men to come here and to spend this time in defiance of the Church of England at the time could have very well meant their death. For them, doctrine and theology and the gospel was not a matter of preference, was not a matter of public opinion. It was a matter of life and death. It was a matter of the soul. And so they knew they were making a deposit into many, many future generations in order to assemble in the way that they did. And it's a reminder for us that we have been given, as Christians, the faith once for all delivered to the saints, as Jude reminds us, that this is an apostolic deposit of truth. Paul says, the things I've entrusted to you, Timothy, meaning the truth, you entrust to reliable men who will also be qualified to teach others. This is a reminder for us. One of the things we want to learn from great men of the past who've done these sorts of things. One, the truth is worth standing for. the truth is worth dying for. And as necessary, the truth is worth fighting for. Now, when we say fighting for, we're not talking about picking up swords and or guns and taking physical action against our opponents. What we're saying is that it's worth fighting for in terms of standing for what is true, of standing upon the Word of God, of speaking truth, of living truth, of embodying truth, yet meekly, humbly, and as mere servants of the Lord. It's an incredibly tight balance to try to do this, right? But we can learn from these great men who went before that again, if we don't have truth, we have nothing. If we don't have an agreed upon platform, an agreed upon authority, we have nothing. And we may take it for granted in our day and age, but here, almost 400 years ago, these groups of ministers gathered, and we continue to live off their spiritual legacy. And it's also a call to us to remember that our job is to impart and to carry forward this truth and gospel message to the next generation. How are you doing that? With your kids, your family, people you go to class with, the people you're in church with, in community group with. It's a call to study the Word. It's a call to be theological. It's a call to embody the Word of God in all that we do. So this is something we learn from the saints here. These Puritan pastors 400 years ago gathered in the place right over my shoulder, and we get to remember them today. All right, that's it for this morning. The next time we're together, which will be tomorrow, will be Wednesday, I believe, your time, we'll be somewhere in Ireland, okay? Where will we be in Ireland? Who knows? But we hope you join us as we get back to looking at the lifetimes of C.S. Lewis. Hope to see you then. Thanks.